Hello, everyone. It's your favorite Nigerian teacher abroad here. And ever since I started my channel, I've talked about different places. I've talked a little bit about Spain, but today I want to tell you what I felt like in my first year of working in Spain. I am a Nigerian living and working in Spain as a teacher. And I have to say, it's been an incredible experience so far. The cultural differences are amazing. I've learned so much about myself and about this beautiful country that I live in. One of the biggest challenges that I faced when I first moved here was adapting to the new education system. Even though I'd worked in different parts of the world, each country poses its own unique challenges, its own unique admiration points, its own unique features. And coming here was no different. Coming from Nigeria, I was used to a more didactic approach to teaching and learning, where the teacher is seen as an authority figure in the classroom, and the students are expected to absorb whatever the teacher gives them. Here in Spain, it's a more student-centered approach where the teacher is seen more as a facilitator. I'd experienced this in different parts of the world, but it's still different in Spain. Even though in other parts of Europe where I've worked and other parts of the world where I've worked, it's student-centered. But in Spain, it's more of a mix of a social hierarchy thing in the classroom, but still student-centered. The students are encouraged to take ownership of their learning, but still have a respect for their teachers. It took me a while to adjust to this system, but it's been very rewarding, especially seeing the students thrive even as I learned the new approach to this form of teaching. Another challenge that I faced is the language barrier. In Spain, students learn English, but they learn English in one subject only, as opposed to in all the subjects. I'm lucky that I work in an international school where all of the learning is in English, but still their level of English is as second language learners, where Spanish is their first language, and teaching them concepts in maths or computing or geography or history in English needs a lot of breaking it down into little bits and pieces for them to understand the nuances, the sarcasm, the idea, and the concepts that I'm trying to teach them. It's been quite a challenge communicating with them, but I've also started learning the Spanish spoken in Spain, that is Castellano, and in my case, Murciano, so that I could then meet them at the point of their need if they need anything broken down and their understanding driven in properly. Cultural differences have also been a challenge for me. In Spain, the concept of time is very relaxed, unlike other parts of the world where I've worked. Punctuality is not as highly valued in Spain as it is in Nigeria. Yes, you heard me right. Nigerians are still, in my opinion, Nigerians are still more time conscious than Spanish people. Spanish time takes Nigerian time and puts roller skates on it and pushes it down the street. That is the concept of Spanish time. I adjusted eventually. You will too when you come here to teach. It's actually been very liberating. Let go of my need for everything to be perfect and on time. And it's been quite a journey moving here from Norway where everything is so on time in such a way that it feels quite militarized. Coming from Norway to Spain, I really had to adjust because I was always losing. It was almost like I was at the point of losing my mind. But I've learned to take it in my stride and just relax and understand that there's a reason why people live longer here. And it's because the concept of time is taken as a concept, not as a do or die affair. Lastly, I've learned to be more patient and understanding, not just with my students, but with the people in general. Sometimes when they say things, it comes as if it's so direct because the ones who can actually speak in English, they're probably translating it straight from Spanish into English. And it sometimes comes off as a bit jarring on the nerves. I thought Nigerians were direct. Spanish people are straight to the point, bullseye. Yeah. And you should not take it to heart. Do not get offended. It's just cultural differences. And understanding that people talk in different ways in different parts of the world. I took it in my stride and I've adapted to it very, very well now. Also, the educational system here in Nigeria, the educational system is really, really competitive. And I've seen that in other parts of the world, like when I worked in Southeast Asia and the Middle East. The competitiveness of students in the classroom is astounding. In China, the parents are even more competitive than even their children, and they're usually the driving force behind people achieving such high scores in the classroom. In Spain, parents are more into the welfare of their children and making sure that their children are just happy going to school in the morning. It doesn't matter what grades they come home with, even though they do study. The parents are more into how did you feel at school today, as opposed to so what scores did you get in your tests at school today? And this takes a lot of pressure off the students where in other parts of the world where I've worked, there's a lot of pressure on students to achieve high scores, and students' well being is almost not taken into consideration because of the competitiveness in the classroom, as opposed to here in Spain, where it's the students' well being and the students' happiness that they're more interested in. Pedro's mom would rather ask his Pedro after school if he finished his bocadillo, and she'll be well upset if Pedro did not finish his bocadillo, and she'll want to know why, as opposed to if Pedro told her, yeah, I failed everything in class today, she'll say, don't worry, there's always tomorrow to get it right. Are you happy? That sort of thing. It took me a while to adjust to this laid back approach because, as I said, I've worked in the Middle East, I've worked in Asia, Southeast Asia, Nigeria. Coming from Nigeria, from that background myself, I was used to people meeting their outcomes, do or die. But here, even though it's taking me a while to adjust, I have adjusted eventually, and I've come to marry it with a balance where the well-being is taken into consideration as well as the student outcomes, so that I'm able to see a more well-rounded child at the end of the academic year than just a child who's achieving all the outcomes, but it's not emotionally balanced or the well-being is not taken into account. My first day in my classroom is typically my favorite, which is on a Monday. I've got a group of energetic, enthusiastic 10-year-olds. They always make me laugh. We do a lot of interactive activities and games, and it's interesting to see how they learn and they grow, especially when I put their well-being into consideration. After the first class, I take a short break, grab a snack, and refocus. This is usually about 10 o'clock till 10:15, just to recharge, have a cup of tea or fruit tea and a bit of tostada before we carry on with the rest of the day. One of the unique teaching methods that I employ, especially to improve their listening and speaking, is storytelling. I love telling stories that illustrate complex concepts and make them more relatable and engaging to my students. It's amazing to see how they respond to this approach, and it makes them really eager to learn more. My students are always asking me about Nigeria and Africa. Well, they ask me about Africa, and then I have to explain to them that Africa is a continent and Nigeria is just a country. And it gives me pleasure to know that just because there's someone like me in their classroom, it's breaking down all the stereotypes they must have learned in the past. And then they're able to see through me the uniqueness of each country in Africa, and that not everybody who looks like me is just from the same place, with zebras running in the backyard and all that kind of thing. This has shown me how open minded they are, and the fact that we need more people who look like me to show them an awareness that they would not be exposed to if I didn't come into their classroom, if I never appeared on their radar. I love sharing my culture and my traditions with them, and it's so exciting to see how their knowledge has deepened and their eagerness to learn has shown me a different side of these children. It's also really good to see an appreciation and a deeper knowledge for other cultures apart from theirs. One of the most exhilarating experiences I've had since I moved to Spain was with a particular student who I shall not name in this video. We'll just call her M. She was struggling to understand a particularly difficult concept. Now I could see the frustration in her eyes. So I took a few minutes, borrowed an idea that I learned back in Nigeria, and I explained it to her in that way. I was blown away to see how quick the understanding came to her, to show that everything we learn as teachers from different parts of the world all comes together. If they don't understand the way it's taught with the European method, then maybe mixing a bit of the African method into it will help them solve the puzzle. And with M, it really did. And I was so excited that I could share my culture, share a concept that I learned all the way from home, and help her understand something that would have been so difficult to understand. When I saw the light of understanding shine through her eyes, it was such a small moment, but it was such a big moment for both of us, for her for understanding, and for me for being able to share something that I learned 20 years ago in my home country. Moments like this remind me of why I became a teacher in the first place and why I became a Nigerian teacher abroad. Make a difference in the life of my students and to help them grow and learn in meaningful ways. It's not always easy, of course, but it's days like that that makes it all worthwhile. As I'm sat here reflecting on all the things that happened to me in my first year, I'm reminded of the power of cultural exchange, of teachers having diversity, bringing diversity to the classroom. As a Nigerian teacher living and working in Spain at the moment and all the different countries that I've worked in, I've learned so much about people around the world, from here in Spain, in Norway, in Amsterdam, in all the different parts of the world where I've worked. And the fact that I've been able to share my own culture and experiences with them blows me away every day. It's been an incredible adventure so far, and I'm so happy and excited to see what the future will bring. Thanks for watching till this point. And if you want to learn more about my adventures across the world and the different parts where I've lived in, please remember to smash that subscribe button, hit the like button as well, and press that notification bell so that we can always come here and share this story time with me. Until next time, bye.